In Chapter 1, the Great Horn signals a quarreling attack at the cluster by the woods. Arlen 11 rides with his parents to find 15 houses ruined, wood piles burned, and 27 dead. Villagers dig out survivors from a cellar, including Arlen's Uncle Choli. Messenger Reagan and Jongleur Kieran arrive. Reagan confirms Greg's death, trades salt with Rusko Hogg for rice and coin, and agrees to distribute mail and assist briefly. He shows Arlen a portable warding circle and explains the free cities and traveling dangers. In town square, Reagan and Rusko haggle over goods and gold, then return. On the road, Arlen and Reagan find Choli hanging. Reagan cuts him down but cannot revive him. They bring the body back. Tender Harrel commits Choli to the pyre. Survivors are divided among households for the night. Jeff and Sylvie take in Noreen Cutter and Maria Bales. As they leave, Arlen realizes he forgot to spread Kieran's show. In Chapter 2, Arlen's family narrowly secures the farm before Corling's rise. During the attack, Arlen's mother Sylvie is severely injured while rescuing Maria, and Arlen fends off a Corling to save her, sheltering them both in a warded pen through a brutal storm. Disillusioned by Jeff's paralyzing fear and inaction, Arlen grows increasingly aware of his father's cowardice. The next morning, they rush Sylvie to Colin Trigg, the town herb gatherer, who warns they must find May Fryman for a cure. On the road, Jeff's fear again delays them, forcing them to seek shelter with Harl Tanner's family. There, Arlen overhears disturbing truths. Jeff arranged a marriage between Arlen and Rena Tanner, and Elaine Tanner attempts to seduce Jeff. Sylvie worsens, and they race to find May, but she dies en route. Arlen, furious at Jeff's failures, runs into the forest, consumed by grief, betrayal, and the resolve to stand against fear. In Chapter 3, Arlen flees into the forest, refusing to return home after his mother's death and his father's cowardice. He decides to head toward the Free Cities, hoping to find Reagan and escape Tibbetts Brook forever. Lost and alone, he makes camp before nightfall, carving a ward circle for protection. When Corlings rise, Arlen's wards hold, until a massive rock demon attacks. The wards repel it, but not before its claws wound his back, severing its own arm in the process. At dawn, Arlen watches the demon's limb burn to ash, realizing both his courage and the fragility of his survival. The next night, he wards again, defending himself and saving a trapped hare from the demons, but his untreated wounds grow infected with demon fever, leaving him weak and delirious. Refusing to surrender, Arlen presses on toward the Free Cities, determined to die moving forward rather than return to fear. In Chapter 4, 13-year-old Leesha witnesses a devastating demon attack in Cutter's Hollow, which leaves several homes destroyed and 7 villagers dead. Amid the chaos, she helps form a bucket line to stop the spread of fire, and is later assigned to assist the village's elderly herb gatherer, Bruna. When Bruna's apprentice Darcy fails in her duties and quits, Leesha is thrust into the healer's role, tirelessly mixing salves, stitching wounds, and saving lives under Bruna's sharp-tongued instruction. When Bruna collapses from exhaustion, Leesha quickly brews a healing tea and saves her life. Her bravery is recognized during a public speech by the town speaker. That night, Bruna insists Leesha stay with her to help restock supplies, dragging along Garrett, Leesha's fiancé, whom Bruna slyly drugs to sleep. As they talk, Bruna reveals her vast knowledge and encourages Leesha to pursue learning, offering a book to show her that life has more to offer than marriage and children. In Chapter 5, Leesha deepens her knowledge under Bruna's guidance, discovering the true power and responsibility of a herb gatherer. As her relationship with Garrett becomes more physical, Leesha pulls back, determined to uphold her vows. But Garrett spreads lies, claiming they've slept together, destroying her reputation. When Leesha confronts him, he refuses to admit the truth, leading to a violent fight. Rejected by her friends and shunned by the village, Leesha finds protection only from Bruna. Her mother, Ilona, demands she marry Garrett to save face, and when Leesha refuses, she is savagely beaten. Even her father is powerless to stop it. Just as Leesha's resolve is at its lowest, her first menstruation arrives, her flowering, triggering Ilona's demand to wed Garrett. Faced with forced marriage and betrayal, Leesha flees into the night, determined to escape both her mother and Garrett, no matter the danger beyond the wards. In Chapter 6, Leesha flees into the night after her mother's beating, only to encounter Corlings as night falls. Chased by a wood demon, she reaches Bruna's hut just in time. Bruna kills the demon with rare liquid demon fire and shelters Leesha. When Ilona arrives with Steve and Garrett to drag Leesha home, Bruna fends them off with herbal weapons and declares Leesha her apprentice. Later, Bruna is summoned to treat a dying patient after Darcy's incompetence. Leesha helps, proving her skill and commitment. Before the village, Bruna announces Leesha will serve her for 7 years and is no longer promised to Garrett. Under pressure, Garrett admits he lied about taking her virginity. Ernie finally stands up to Alona, threatening divorce and exile. Leesha, though grateful for her father's courage, chooses to remain with Bruna, committing to the path of a true herb gatherer and a life of knowledge and healing. In Chapter 7, 3-year-old Rojer lives peacefully with his parents, Jessam and Callie, at their inn in Riverbridge. As the village prepares for Duke Rhinebeck's visit, a jongleur named Eric Sweetsong arrives with messenger Gerald. That night, demons breach the inn, killing Jessam and mortally wounding Callie. Eric, showing cowardice, abandons them to save himself. Callie sacrifices her life to protect Rojer, killing a flame demon before shoving her son into the trapdoor where Eric hides. Roger's right hand is maimed in the attack. Eric escapes with Rojer through the burning village, taking refuge in Gerald's warded circle. There, he treats the boy's injury and comforts him with song as Riverbridge is destroyed. Rojer clings to a lock of his mother's red hair, traumatized but alive. This chapter introduces Roger's tragic backstory, his first encounter with Corlings, and the beginning of his connection to music as a source of comfort and protection amid loss. In Chapter 8, Arlen, feverish and near death, stumbles upon an ancient abandoned ruin from before the return, hoping the smoke he sees signals help. He finds only a smoldering tree and nearly gives up, but spotting movement on the road revives his will. He collapses and is found by messenger Reagan, who treats his infected wounds with hogroot. Arlen awakens days later, recovering in a warded camp. Reagan listens as Arlen recounts his escape from Tibbetts Brook and surviving a rock demon. When Arlen refuses to return home, Reagan agrees to take him to the Free Cities. That night, the same one-armed demon attacks their wards, now fixated on Arlen. As they travel, Reagan teaches Arlen survival, herbs, and the importance of warding. Arlen impresses him with his instinctive warding skill. When Reagan's horse remains calm despite danger, Arlen names her Night Eye, a fitting symbol of Arlen's resilience and growing bond with the messenger. In Chapter 9, Arlen arrives in the fortress city of Fort Milne with Reagan. Awed by its size and warded structures, he also learns of the social divisions and political tensions between free cities. At the palace, Reagan reports to Duke Euchre, delivering troubling news. Rhinebeck has refused further wood shipments and now claims Riverbridge. Reagan's fearless stance earns Arlen's admiration. Reagan attempts to get Arlen apprenticed to the Messenger Guild, but both guildmasters Malcolm and Vinchin reject him, until Reagan arranges an apprenticeship with Master Cobb, a former messenger turned warder. Cobb agrees to train Arlen for 7 years in wardcraft. Meanwhile, Arlen learns more about Milne's harsh class systems, Alyssa's sacrifices for love, and Reagan's wealth earned by braving the roads. Despite obstacles and being treated as a pauper, Arlen is determined to master warding, pursue messenger training, and forge his own future, no matter how long the journey takes. In Chapter 10, Arlen, now 13, grows rapidly as Cobb's apprentice in Milne. He masters reading and records forgotten wards from Tibbetts Brook in a personal grimoire. When Cobb suggests selling the knowledge for profit, Arlen insists the wards should be shared, not hoarded. This leads to an influx of trades and offers from other warders across Milne. Arlen befriends Jake, a poor mill boy, who aspires to be a jongleur. Their friendship deepens through shared games and visits to jongleur performances. When Kieran, the jongleur who once abandoned Arlen, falsely claims credit for maiming the one-armed rock demon, Arlen confronts him publicly. Beaten by Kieran's apprentices, Arlen refuses to back down. Cobb comforts him, acknowledging the importance of truth even amid false hope. Meanwhile, the rock demon continues circling Milne's walls, searching obsessively for Arlen. Despite obstacles, Arlen's training advances. Cobb begins teaching him weapons and promises full road preparation training. In Chapter 11, the rock demon One Arm breaches Milne's wall, tearing through solid stone under the eyes of horrified guards. Arlen, Cobb, and Reagan rush to the scene as the city erupts into chaos. Flame and wind demons pour in, killing guards and igniting fires. Amid the battle, Arlen sets up a ward post, while Reagan heroically charges One Arm but is gravely injured. Cobb's post is knocked loose, and Arlen risks his life to lure the demon back into the ward net, allowing Cobb to reset it and save Reagan. Afterward, the city counts heavy casualties. Arlen questions why the demons aren't hunted down, but Cobb insists it's futile. They pass the corpses of beggars left unprotected, prompting Arlen to question the city's neglect. Days later, Warder Max is executed as a scapegoat despite Cobb's protests. Arlen begins to see the failure of both walls and rulers in protecting the innocent. In Chapter 12, Arlen and Cobb are invited to ward the Duke's library, the most valuable building in Milne. The Duke demands extreme precautions, requesting every table and shelf be warded. Cobb refuses due to the time required, but Arlen volunteers, negotiating full access to the library for life. Tender Ronald agrees, impressed by Arlen's boldness. Over months, Arlen dedicates himself to the tedious task, studying ancient texts and bonding with Mary, Ronald's intelligent daughter. As he explores old maps, he realizes Tibbetts Brook was once part of a larger kingdom called Thesa, now forbidden to mention. Ronell scolds Arlen and Mary for discussing it, and assigns them to study the canon, a religious text claiming demons are punishment for mankind's sins. Arlen challenges these beliefs, furious at the idea that his mother's death was deserved. Disillusioned by religious doctrine, he throws himself into warding, seeking purpose through knowledge and resistance. In Chapter 13, Leesha nears the end of her 7-year apprenticeship with Bruna, now a respected herb-gatherer in Cutter's Hollow. A messenger named Marek arrives from Fort Angiers with a medical case from Mistress Giselle and a proposal, an exchange of apprentices, suggesting Leesha train in Angier. Bruna considers it. During her rounds, Leesha navigates town politics and relationships, notably fending off Garrett, her violent former fiancé who attacks Marek out of jealousy. Leesha stops the fight using Bruna's blinding powder and ends all ties with Garrett. Despite growing affection between Leesha and Marek, she remains cautious. Her skills as a healer and her independence continue to gain respect, and Bruna quietly tests her readiness to work alone. Leesha correctly diagnoses the boy in Giselle's letter, and Bruna declares her training complete, instructing her to deliver the treatment in person. Leesha is finally sent out into the wider world to begin her own journey. In Chapter 14, Leesha prepares to leave Cutter's Hollow for Angiers, where she will study under Mistress Giselle. Though her father Ernie is deeply saddened, he supports her while her mother Ilona explodes in fury, accusing Leesha of abandoning her role as a woman. Leesha stands her ground, severing emotional ties. Bruna warns her about Marek, who reveals his predatory intentions during the journey. Though she cannot overpower him physically, Leesha uses her herbcraft to render him impotent, enduring the harassment until they reach Angiers. Before leaving, Bruna gives Leesha money and a final embrace, urging her to grow beyond the hollow. The townsfolk give Leesha a heartfelt farewell. Upon arrival at the fortress city, Marek threatens her into silence and rides off. Leesha, having survived both physical danger and emotional trials, steps forward into a new life, determined and wiser. Her strength, cunning, and resilience mark the start of her transformation. In Chapter 15, 10-year-old Rojer wakes in Fort Angier, haunted by the memory of losing his parents to Corlings and clutching his mother's keepsake for comfort. He lives with Eric Sweetsong, a once famous jongleur now fallen into alcoholism. When Eric is too drunk to perform, Rojer takes his place in Small Square, amazing the crowd with his natural fiddle talent. Though guildmasters Yasin and Adam confiscate most of his earnings, Rojer earns enough to pay rent. The next day, Eric forces him to juggle and introduces him as Rojer Halfgrip, turning his crippled hand into a stage persona. When the crowd demands Rojer play again, his fiddle performance stuns everyone, proving his gift. However, Yasin soon destroys Rojer's fiddle and attacks them with his apprentices. Rojer and Eric fight back using tricks and quick thinking before fleeing through the streets, marking the beginning of Rojer's rise as a gifted but haunted jongleur. In Chapter 16, Arlen's work at the Duke's library nears completion as his friendship with Mary blossoms into love. However, when he speaks of becoming a messenger to fight demons and seek freedom, Mary laughs and urges him to settle as a warder. Their opposing dreams create a rift between them. Regan later invites Arlen on a short messenger journey, but Alyssa forbids it, revealing her deep fear of losing them both. When Regan relents, Arlen feels betrayed and moves out, pursuing independence. Over the next year, Arlen matures, gains respect as a warder's apprentice, and deepens his relationship with Mary. Yet, when she demands he abandon his dream, Arlen refuses, and Mary ends their courtship. The next morning, Arlen leaves Milne for Lacton without farewell, leaving letters for those he loves. Alyssa and Mary are devastated, realizing too late that Arlen's need for freedom outweighs every attachment he leaves behind. In Chapter 17, Arlen explores the desert ruins of Anak's Son despite the approaching night. Deep underground, he discovers ancient wards carved into the stone and a sealed burial chamber containing an obsidian sarcophagus. Inside lies a long-dead warrior holding a perfectly preserved warded metal spear, unlike anything known in modern times. Arlen takes the weapon and escapes just as the sun sets, fighting through a pack of sand demons. When the spear pierces one, its blood burns black, proving the weapon can wound corlings. That night, as the demons surround his camp, Arlen studies the spear, realizing it may be the key to fighting back. At dawn, he examines and copies the mysterious wards. Determined to prove its power, Arlen prepares a massive ward circle and deliberately provokes One Arm, the rock demon that has hunted him for years, stepping forward with the magical spear to face his greatest enemy. In Chapter 18, Arlen faces One Arm in a long-awaited battle under the desert night sky. Knowing the spear might be his only chance, Arlen draws the corling in, dodges its first strike, and lands a wounding blow to its tail. The demon retaliates viciously, forcing Arlen to retreat. During the fight, the spear's wards flare, deflecting a powerful attack and stunning both combatants. Arlen lures One Arm into a hidden ward circle, which activates and rebounds the demon's charge. He pierces its belly with the warded spear, severely injuring it. Though wounded himself, Arlen crawls back to safety as the demon thrashes, unable to remove the spear. By sunrise, One Arm succumbs to the magic burning through it. Arlen watches the corpse burn to ash in the sunlight, but the victory feels hollow. As he binds his wounds and mourns his mother, Arlen realizes a chapter of his life has ended, with pain, not triumph. In Chapter 19, Arlen journeys across the harsh Krasian desert to Fort Krasia, reflecting on the resilience of its people and their refusal to live in fear of demons. He stops at the Oasis of Dawn, where he replenishes supplies and inscribes Anak's Son into the messenger ledger, proud of his discovery. Arriving in Krasia, he reunites with his friend Aban and trades goods in the Great Bazaar. Despite cultural barriers, Arlen earns respect among the warrior caste, the Dal Sharum, who now call him Parchin, brave outsider. He meets with Jardir, the first warrior, and shares the secret of the ancient warded spear found in Anak's Son. Though warned not to expect favor from Krasia's leaders, Arlen vows to help them win their nightly war against demons. He joins Jardir for the evening's Alagai Sharak and shocks the Kaisharim by revealing that One Arm, the feared rock demon, is dead, slain by his new weapon. In Chapter 20, Arlen participates in Alagai Sharak, the demon-hunting ritual of the Krasians. Within the sacred temple Sharik Hora, the Dal Sharim pray to Everum for strength before the city's complex battle begins. Arlen joins the pushguard in a maze ambush. When the Corlings arrive, Arlen's spear proves deadly, its magic shocking the Krasians. He rescues a failing unit, slays multiple demons, and earns the warrior's awe. Chanting Parchin, they rally behind him, following his fearless charge through the maze. Empowered by the weapon, Arlen feels unstoppable. Jardir joins him, acknowledging Arlen's strength and leading him to another battle. But at the final ambush point, Arlen is tripped and surrounded, ambushed by men, not demons. The chapter ends in confusion and betrayal as Arlen realizes this trap is not part of Alagai Sharak. In Chapter 21, Arlen is ambushed by Jardir and his elite warriors, who surround him to seize the spear of Kaji. Jardir claims the weapon belongs to the Shardamaka, declaring Arlen unworthy because he is only a chin. When Arlen refuses to surrender the spear, Jardir's men attack. Arlen fights bravely, wounding several but is overwhelmed and beaten. Jardir takes the spear, apologizing as he orders his men to throw Arlen into a demon pit to die. Inside, Arlen faces a sand demon using only his broken spear and hastily drawn wards. Through cunning and sheer will, he cripples and kills the creature, then climbs the pit wall in full view of the astonished Krasians. Exhausted but defiant, Arlen challenges Jardir to kill him himself. Fearing dishonor, Jardir hesitates, then strikes Arlen unconscious with the stolen spear, claiming the legendary weapon as his own. In Chapter 22, 14-year-old Rojer Halfgrip travels with his drunken mentor Eric to perform in the hamlets. Rojer practices juggling and fiddling despite his crippled hand, determined to earn a jongleur's name. They camp on the road using a decade-old portable ward circle, but Rojer worries about its strength. That night, wood demons attack, triggering traumatic memories. Rojer recalls how Arik fled and let his mother die. As the demons test the wards, Rojer's music mysteriously repels them. However, Arik drunkenly insults him, destroys Rojer's talisman, and in a rage, shoves him outside the circle. A demon charges, but Arik sacrifices himself to save Rojer, dying violently. Rojer survives the night playing dissonant music to keep the demons at bay. By morning, he buries Arik's remains and continues alone to Woodson, passing himself off as a jongleur. Though haunted and unsure, Rojer resolves to continue performing and survive on his own terms. In Chapter 23, Arlen awakens abandoned in the desert after Jardir's betrayal. Weak and near death, he crawls across the dunes, surviving on a single waterskin and sheer will. Haunted by guilt and the belief that no one will mourn him, he presses on, guided only by the thought of reclaiming his stolen purpose. After days of agony, he collapses and miraculously awakens at the warded Oasis of Dawn. There, he recovers slowly, tending his wounds and regaining strength. Determined never to be powerless again, Arlen studies his notebook containing the spear's wards and experiments with painting attack wards directly onto his hands. That night, he faces a sand demon, discovering that his palm wards burn coiling flesh without harming him. Empowered by this revelation, Arlen kills the demon with his bare hands, crushing its skull. Reborn through pain and defiance, he embraces his destiny as the warded man, the first true weapon against the Corlings. In Chapter 24, Arlen reflects on his hunger for power after killing a Corling with his bare hands. Realizing humanity's fear is its greatest weakness, he chooses a solitary path of combat. Remembering how tattoos marked messengers, he begins tattooing combat wards onto his body, integrating warding with Krasian martial arts. After a week of training and preparation, he heads across the desert toward Anaksun, fighting a pack of sand demons en route using his new warded strikes. At Anaksun, he explores the catacombs, discovering pictograms of past Corling wars and a warded man who repelled demons with a forehead sigil. He copies these symbols, but limited food forces him to plan a return to Fort Rizan. That night, hungry and angry, he kills a demon and dissects its corpse. Desperate, Arlen roasts its flesh. Despite recalling warnings from his youth, he eats the demon meat, marking a grim turning point in his transformation. In Chapter 25, Rojer flees Shepherd's Dale after being caught with a married woman, continuing his pattern of moving from town to town. Despite many offers to settle, he refuses to give up the jongleur's life. His storytelling, fiddle playing, and invented legends, especially of the warded man, make him popular in the hamlets. Eventually, he returns to Angers, seeking a guild license. With Master Jacob's reluctant sponsorship, Rojer performs before Guildmaster Charles and earns a probationary license, despite punching the arrogant Master Yasin during the audition. Months later, Rojer thrives performing with Jacob's help, but remains shadowed by Yasin's apprentices. After a successful show, Rojer and Jacob are ambushed by Yasin and his men. Rojer is brutally beaten, his fiddle destroyed, and his arm broken. Jacob tries to defend him, but is severely injured. As the attack ends, Rojer lies unconscious, shattered both physically and emotionally, as Yasin's revenge nearly destroys everything he has built. In Chapter 26, Leesha works tirelessly at the hospital in Angers, balancing patients, apprentices, and letters from home. She debates her future with Giselle, who urges her to settle down, but Leesha remains uncertain, especially after learning her father is gravely ill and Bruna has died in a Cutter's Hollow Flux outbreak. Desperate to return home, she's unable to hire a messenger due to high demand. A former suitor, Merrick, offers to take her in exchange for sex, but Leesha violently rejects him. Rojer, still recovering from his injuries, offers to escort her instead. They travel together toward the Hollow, stopping at Farmer's Stump where Rojer performs and impresses the locals. Meanwhile, 3 strangers show interest in Roger's valuable portable ward circle. As Rojer pushes himself to help Leesha, he hopes to prove his worth and escape Yasin's shadow in Angers, unaware of the danger following them on the road. In Chapter 27, Rojer and Leesha are robbed and brutally assaulted by 3 bandits who steal their horse, money, and portable ward circle. As night approaches, they stumble into the woods, desperate to hide from the Corlings. Just before the demons strike, a mysterious figure, heavily tattooed in combat wards, arrives and kills the attackers with his bare hands. He reveals himself as the warded man and leads them to his warded camp, protecting them through the night. Leesha tends to his injuries, and both she and Rojer witness his incredible power. Rojer later proves his own worth by playing his fiddle, using music to mesmerize and repel demons. The warded man, astonished, asks Rojer to teach him. Rojer agrees on the condition he can travel with him. That night, the warded man takes Rojer to find the bandits and offers a chance for justice. Rojer, no longer willing to run, vows to reclaim what was stolen. In Chapter 28, Leesha awakens to find her stolen mare returned and learns the warded man took it from the bandits. Though relieved he didn't kill them, she later discovers only 2 of the 3 bandits survived. A third was torn apart by corlings. They seek shelter in a messenger cave as a storm brings early demons. Leesha uncovers Rojer's recovered ward circle and confronts him and the warded man, realizing they deliberately left the bandits to be killed. A fierce argument follows, culminating in the warded man throwing himself into battle with the corlings out of guilt. Rojer joins the fight to save him, and they barely escape. Afterward, Leesha confesses the reasons she left Cutter's Hollow, and the warded man reveals his true name, Arlen. The chapter closes with Arlen rejecting the myth of the Deliverer, determined instead to lead humanity's resistance, even if it means sacrificing his past self to become a weapon. In Chapter 29, Arlen wakes before dawn to find Leesha gathering herbs outside the cave. Their conversation reveals his enhanced abilities are tied to feedback from warding, which slowly transforms him. Leesha kisses him, and they begin a passionate encounter, only to be ambushed by a wood demon. Arlen, mud-covered and with most of his wards obscured, fights the demon unarmed. Though injured, he saves Leesha by choking the demon and holding it until sunrise incinerates it. But during the struggle, he begins to slip into the core's realm, sensing its pull as if he belongs there. He resists and drags the demon back into the sun. Traumatized by the experience and fearing what he's becoming, Arlen pushes Leesha away, emotionally and physically. Despite her pleas, he declares his path lies in the night and walks off to cleanse his wounds, leaving Leesha devastated, realizing his transformation may be irreversible. In Chapter 30, Arlen, Leesha, and Rojer arrive at Cutter's Hollow to find it devastated by plague, fire, and demon attacks. The villagers are dying in droves, and the holy house is overcrowded with the sick. Leesha takes charge, organizing care and preparing mass doses of medicine, while the warded man begins preparing defenses for a final stand. He rallies the villagers with a rock demon horn and warded weapons, inspiring them to fight. Even reluctant fighters like Garrett and Stephanie step up, as does Rojer, who is told to remain inside to use his fiddle as a weapon. Leesha retrieves liquid demon fire from Bruna's hut and repurposes her father's house to shelter the vulnerable. The warded man applies Crazian battle tactics, funneling the demons to the square. Despite their fear, the villagers prepare to resist the coming night. Leesha and the warded man set aside personal pain to protect the Hollow, together. In Chapter 31, the Hollowers, led by the warded man, prepare 3 warded circles and a trap pit to defend Cutter's Hollow. As demons attack, fear grips the villagers, but the warded man's fearless assault on corlings rallies them. When demons overrun baited cows and approach the second circle, the Hollowers counterattack using warded weapons and Bruna's concoctions. Fire trenches, demon fire, fireworks, and thundersticks devastate the attackers, though some villagers fall. Amid the chaos, demons breach the holy house. Inside, Leesha, Darcy, and Rojer defend the wounded. Roger's fiddle hypnotizes a demon long enough for Leesha to spear it, saving lives. Despite heavy losses, the villagers fight fiercely through the night. At dawn, the sun incinerates remaining demons. Survivors stand changed, no longer helpless but hardened. Tender Jonah credits the warded man as deliverer, but he rejects the title, insisting it was the villagers who won the battle. Still, Jonah hints the prophecy is only beginning. In Chapter 32, the villagers rename Cutter's Hollow to Deliverer's Hollow, despite the warded man's discomfort with being called the Deliverer. He reveals plans to leave and share warding knowledge across Thesa. Leesha and Rojer insist on joining him, proving their value. Leesha is dissecting demons to uncover their biology, including the discovery of dual stomachs and lack of sex organs, suggesting a hive structure. She and Rojer argue they can help train others. The warded man finally accepts their aid, but resists a romantic future with Leesha, revealing his fear that he's becoming more demon than human after absorbing corling magic, afraid of what his offspring might become. Leesha vows to uncover the truth and help him regardless. Meanwhile, far across the desert, Amun Jarder leads a massive Crazian army toward Anuk-Sun. Wielding an ancient weapon, he is hailed by his people not as a warrior, but as the deliverer.